Worksheet 3.3 to 3.6, Solving Equations Review. I'm going to jump in and do a few. I'm going to zoom on in. I'm going to do number 2. Please note, that's a typo. It should have a negative 23 in there. If yours does not, please do so. And as you're looking at it, remember, no matter what, if we ever see subtraction, don't subtract. Add the opposite right away. And on this worksheet, kind of like your quiz coming up, or that we just had, has both one-step and two-step equations. So what do? We find the side with the variable, focus in on that side, and then from there, covering up that v, I need to get rid of adding a negative 9, so I'm going to add a positive 9 to both sides. And what's left on the left side? V. And on the right side, mental math, calculator approved. A negative 14. Since it's v all by itself, you're done. That's all we needed to do. Only one step on this one. If you can tell if they're one step or two step, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. Now moving on to number 5. Find the side with the variable. Not here. There it is. Since the 2/3 is touching the z, normally we would divide by 2/3, but if you see yourself dividing by a fraction, remember to erase that and remind yourself we don't divide by fractions. We multiply by the reciprocal. We keep, change, flip. We multiply by the flip. Since this was positive, multiply this side by a positive 3/2. Whatever you do to the right side, do to the left side as well. We did that because these fractions cancel. You're left with z on the right, and then here, if you want to use a calculator, go right ahead, or again, I'm going to cross-cancel, make math a little bit simpler for myself. Notice when I take out 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, and then over here, a negative 18 divided by 2 is a negative 9. Don't forget to bring that with, so that way you see a negative 27 over 1, which is just negative 27 equals z. Again, if that makes it into this line over here, great. You don't need to do that. Just box it up is fine with me. Note my z's got a line through it on the bottom. That's just how I make it. It does need to be a negative. Watch your signs with mental math. They do not have the same sign, or with a calculator. Make sure you're putting those in there. Go to the bottom left one. It should be number 9, but if it's still another 7, that's fine as well, and we'll work on that one. Fractions, couple of ways to do that, but right here with this video, I'm just going to show you how to deal with fractions just as fractions. So we're going to take a look at it. Here's our side with the variable. Focusing in on that side then, I'm going to cover up this 4/5 x. First thing we got to do, got to get rid of this adding a positive half. So, how do you get rid of a positive half? Add a negative half to both sides. Those guys cancel. Ooh, in order to add these, we need to have a common denominator. It's going to be 10, so multiply these both by 2, so that way we have a positive 4/5. And this guy, going to multiply by 5, so I have a negative 5/10. Look at that, math teacher making a mistake. Go figure. Told you everybody makes mistakes. Told you first day of school, even your math teacher makes mistakes. And here's a video with me making one. But I caught it, so now we can add these up. Again, adding those, careful with those denominators staying the same, great, but one's positive and one's negative in the numerator, so it's not 9 or negative 9. It's a negative 1. That is still equal to 4/5 x. Solve that. Again, oops, don't divide by that fraction. If you feel yourself doing that again, remember to switch and multiply by the flip. Multiply by the reciprocal. If you want to tell me that's negative 5/40, you can, and then simplify that down so that you tell me it's negative 1/8. You can do that. Or if you just wanted to come up here and cross cancel, 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that way you can multiply across and get that negative 1 on the top and the 8 on the bottom. You can do that. Before I move on and forget, let me go back up to number 6. Over here, find the side with the variable. If you cover it up, there's nothing else over there, so we need to focus in right here. This way out front here, that's a negative sign. I'm going to pretend like that's down here with the 5. I'm going to pretend that's a negative 5 because it's just one of these is negative. So I'm going to assign it to the bottom. What's happening between that x and this 5, which is negative? That line means they are dividing. How do we get rid of dividing? We're going to multiply. Again, I'm just going to take this negative. I'm going to put it down here and say this is a negative 5. Since I'm dividing by a negative 5, we're just going to multiply both sides by a negative 5. That negative sign should be in front there. Apologies. So you get a positive 15. Notice the difference between 6. 6 and the 5 over here. 6, this is just x divided by 5, or x divided by a negative 5, whereas number 5 had a fraction in front of the variable. If there's a fraction in front of the variable, that's where we have to multiply by the reciprocal. If there's just a number under the variable, then we just have to multiply. Or if you're looking at it, again, this is technically 1 over 5, a negative 1/5. So multiply by the flip, a negative 5 over 1. That does work too. Then let's jump to the back. Two things I want to go over first. I want to be very careful. I want to work number 11 out for you. Notice it just says to write an equation. So you don't have to do any solving. Follow the instructions on the other side. It does say solve the equation, so I need to see the 1 step of work or the 2 steps. Don't just make this answer magically appear. I don't know if you did it mentally or just copied it from somebody. Show me the steps. And then follow instructions. You can see when I made this video, it says to not have to worry about checking your answer. So just solving. But on number 11, where it says write an equation, 16 less than, remember everybody put a star in the than, and whatever immediately comes after the than, in this case a number, I'm going to call it n, that goes first, then the less than 16. Notice key phrase here, it says equation, so there should be an equal sign in there. Don't forget the word is means equals. And 32. This is the only way this works. It has to be n minus 16 because it says 16 less than a number. That's 16 less than a number is 32. Be very careful with that. Make sure you know what quotient or sum and product mean for the quiz or for the test or for both. Now I like this 15 and I also like number 17, but for the video I'm just going to work through 15 to make sure that we can find the perimeter or use the perimeter to find the value of x or find the unknown side. Notice it does say to write an equation. There's a lovely little blank here as a reminder, but since it says to write an equation on a quiz or test, that's worth at least 1 if not 2 points. So let's add them up. The perimeter of the polygon is 23 6/10 meters. Start with that. Even though you don't like how that's going to get set up, start with what we're given, with what we know, and now it's time to go to the perimeter. Remember, perimeter, you walk around the outside and you're going to add up all of those numbers. So go ahead and write it out that way, adding them all up. The 5 4/10, the 7 3/10, the 4 2/10, the 5.4, the 7.3, the 4.2, and then don't forget, one more side, x. That's an equation. I will accept that. Now, in order to solve that, let's combine like terms to make things a little bit easier for us. Everything here, add them up. Grab that calculator. Careful with the mental math. I would definitely not recommend that. I would recommend grabbing a calculator, even though we can make mistakes with calculators. I took a calculator and added them up. Again, you've seen me make mistakes, mental math, and with calculators, so be careful. Now that you have that, solve. Again, drawing your attention where the x is. Covering it up, I see adding 16 9/10. I see adding 16.9, so get rid of that. Those guys cancel if you add a negative 16.9 to the right side, Add a negative 16 and 9/10 to the left side. Careful if you're doing mental math. That does come out to be 6.7 or 6 7/10 equals x. But word problem, it says find the length. So I'm going to want to know that that is m, or if you need to, write out the word meters. Because when you look at that, this m stands for meters. This m is not a variable, stands for meters. This is not a variable, it stands for meters. So the only variable we had was that x. Make sure you're prepared to be able to write equations and solve them, whether they are multi-step, one-step, or two-step. We have to be familiar and confident on how to solve equations.